Hey there, thanks for listening and welcome to the Marketing Matchmaker podcast. If you're looking to grow your business, increase your revenue, and scale your impact, all while staying true to who you are and the people you serve, this is the show for you. I'm Jennifer Tamborski, digital marketing strategist, fractional CMO, and founder of Virtual Marketing Experts. My team and I work with 6- and 7-figure coaches, consultants, and online entrepreneurs who are tired of playing the guru game of one-size-fits-all marketing. They're ready to create a business and marketing strategy that actually builds relationships with their ideal clients, creates massive shifts in their business, and rapidly increases their revenue. As your marketing matchmaker, I'm going to help you find the perfect marketing match for you. This show will teach you how to reach your ideal client, connect with your audience, build that perfect relationship, and generate more revenue. All through a process I like to call dating your ideal client. Now let's go have some fun. Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the Marketing Matchmaker podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Tamborski, and I am so excited about today's show. As you know, I love working with coaches, and one of my very favorite things to do is to talk to successful coaches about how they got to where they are today. And today I have, well, I'm going to be honest here, full disclosure, one of my favorite clients, a friend of mine, and one of my favorite humans on the planet, Amy Latta, to join me on my podcast. So Amy is a former good girl, rule follower, and teacher's pet. Amy is now the confidence coach for coaches. Just 4 years ago, she was tired of playing small and throwing her money at one business coach after another. So she went to work on her real problem, not believing she could do it. Now she's built a $425,000 a year life coaching business. Amy created the Confidence Coaches program after realizing it was more more about a how-to she needed, but instead about the ability to still believe she would be successful when her consult calendar was sporadic and people were saying no. From those first few clients to fully booked one-on-one to moving to group coaching programs and now scaling to $1 million coaching business, Amy has relied on her 5 steps to creating self-confidence to get to each new level. And she teaches other coaches her confidence process so they can do the same. Welcome, Amy. I am so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to have you too. And yes, full disclosure, we were friends before client and
We actually, I think, started our business around the same time.
yeah.
And had a lot of great conversations as we were doing that.
Yeah, weren't you booking speakers for events?
Was. So my business was completely different when we first started. I was working on more live events and that kind of thing. And then kind of developed this passion. Well, I've always had a passion for marketing, but kind of was like, had this epiphany of, I can really help people.
Yeah, and I was a health blogger and a health blogger for stay-at-home moms who were stressed out and doing a little bit of coaching and selling a direct sales product. And like you and I were introduced as like, you might be having this event. And I was like, oh, I'd love to speak at it. And now look at, oh my gosh, that seems like ancient history. It's so crazy.
Doesn't it? It's so much fun to look back at our history and look at all of the things that we've learned along the way.
And how not straight of a, how it was not a straight line to get from point
Absolutely. That whole entrepreneur check or scale you see, that graph, it is so true.
And it's not even up, down. It's like up, down, backwards, sideways, go this way, turn around the corner, stop, fall down, lay there for a while, get back. Yeah, like it's, yeah, totally.
I love you so much. And I love the fact that you were willing to play with me today on this podcast.
Of course.
So in your bio, we were kind of introducing you as the confidence coach. And yes. I would love you to explain that to me. Like, really, who do you help? What do you do? How do you serve them? and really what makes you different from other life coaches?
Okay. So, just like as we've said, even the confidence coaching came as an evolution. So, I mean, when we first met, I was just kind of like a mommy health blogger who was, coaching people through direct sales and, let's do speaking events. And then I eventually shifted into a weight loss coach for women business owners. And, I got certified as a coach through my coaching school. And and I started a podcast, and then after a while I had a lot of people. You might have even been one of my friends. I was like, just so you know, I don't want I'm not a businesswoman wanting to lose weight. I just like your podcast. I'm a businesswoman and I get so much value. So then I started getting more and more clients that had nothing to do with weight loss, and they just wanted me in their brain every week and on that mindset level. And I just kept finding these same themes, no matter the kind of people. And it was this lack of belief I can do what I've never done before. And that was really this idea of really, so I had this opportunity to work in a 1-year mentorship with my master coach instructor, Brooke Castillo from the Life Coach School. And she wanted me to run with the businesswoman losing weight. She was like, let's do this. And I was like, my gut says confidence is the underlying theme here. Like, I have all these different kinds of clients, but I'm coaching them all on, they don't believe they can do what they've never done before. They're terrified of putting themselves out there in a way that's going to set them up for criticism. They don't know how to make decisions. They're like, I'm so stuck. And, so like they're terrible decision makers, or not even terrible decision makers. They're terrified of making a decision. It's not even that they're terrible decision makers. They're terrified of making a decision. And then they beat the crap out of themselves. They don't have their own back. They trash talk themselves when things don't work out. And then they would spend large amounts of time quitting on themselves. And of course, by they, I'm talking about me.
Isn't that the best thing about coaching, right? When we coach other people, we get to coach ourselves on those same thoughts.
Like, this was my story. This was who I was. And I kept, like, as my bio said, I kept signing up with one business coach after another. And one of my business coaches said, go find another coach right now, or go find someone selling on a webinar, because I want you to do a webinar. And this other coach that was in my sphere, I didn't think she was marketing like diva this and that, like, so not my style, but I had heard she was good at sales. So I signed up for her webinar. And by the end of it, I was literally messaging her assistant saying, the credit card link isn't working. I'm like, literally, that meme, throw your money at you. Because she was talking about what I realized I had been avoiding: self-worth, self-love, self-belief, beating myself up, believing, all of that stuff. Now, she has now gone on to build a multi-million-dollar sales program. She no longer focuses so much on the confidence. So I've taken what she's learned, or what I learned from her, what I've learned from my business coach. I mean, I don't deny the work that I got out of those, how-to business coaches, and really realized that what I teach people is I do teach people the how. I do teach people what to do, but I teach them the how of believing before they've created it. I teach them the action steps of learning how to feel confident. I think the biggest misconception about confidence is I will feel confident when I have the results I'm looking for. That's where the confidence comes from. I believe I can be a good coach because that was a really great coaching session with my client. So I believe I'm a good coach. And really, I'm talking about self-confidence, internal confidence that comes from, I believe I'm a good coach, not because the immediate client in front of me is telling me I am, but because I actually believe that I am. I believe that I can build a successful business, not because there's a certain dollar amount in my bank account or a certain number of consults on my calendar, but because I believe it's going to happen no matter what. And the funny thing is so many people will be like, but can I do that? Can, like, coaches like, but am I allowed to? I mean, I can't say that, can I? And I'm like, think back to all the other times in your life, literally everything any human has ever done, they had never done it before at one point.
Absolutely. And not only that, but when you have that confidence in yourself, it's kind of like the chicken and the egg, right? Like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? But it's not until you have the confidence in yourself that you can put yourself out there. And if you don't put yourself out there, how are you going to be successful, right? Like,
I differentiate between self-confidence and confidence. And it's kind of like self-confidence is the belief that I can do it with zero evidence, with zero proof, just because I really do believe that I can do this. And so that's what gets you to put yourself out there without proof. That's what gets you to, because here's the thing, back to that graph of entrepreneurship, even when you're an amazing coach, an amazing, even if you have all of this proof, and I got a story for you on this one, is my last launch, right? It doesn't mean that you won't have stuff that doesn't work. There's no
Right.
entrepreneur, there's no business functioning in this world that hasn't really believed something was awesome and no one bought it.
One of the things that I love most about your marketing message, especially during this last launch that you had, and for those of you that don't know, Amy had a big launch in December, and she'll give us like more details about that in a minute, but it didn't go as planned.
Nope.
And one of the things in your marketing material that you were saying was, confidence is trying something
Mhm.
and learning from the failure or success, and then
Yeah.
trying something else, being willing to continue to try. And that's one of the things that I highlight with marketing is marketing is an art and a science. And the science part of it is experimenting, trying things, seeing what works, and having the confidence in yourself to do that.
Yeah, I actually, it's part of so I do only have one program, and it is a group mastermind. And one of the things that we do in the mastermind is every Monday morning they post an evaluation. So I really teach a lot about evaluation. But another way to think about that is it's like the scientific method. Like
Yeah.
you're running an experiment every week, and every Monday morning, my scientists, i.e. my clients, are sharing the results that they got, why they think that happened, like what worked, why did they think it worked, what didn't work, what do they think didn't work about that, what was the thinking going on in their head about that, and then what will they do differently, i.e. how are they going to tweak the experiment this week.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have so many things even in our in just life right now. Think about the vaccines that's coming out, and in every scientific breakthrough there's been a ton of failure before the breakthrough happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the same with marketing, right?
Yes.
Every time the biggest people out there, when you're looking at those big influencers online and you're like, I want to get to that, or even how did they do that? Reality is they failed over and over again, but they kept trying, right?
Yes.
They kept moving forward.
I think there was a couple of emails or posts where I said, at the end of the day, Confident Coaches Mastermind is a how to fail program.
I love that.
At the end of the day, I'm going to teach you how to fail, because if you're going to try to avoid failing, and some people are like, well, I just don't like to think of it as failure. I don't care what you call it. It's making a decision to do something. It does not create the results that you wanted. You evaluate it and you get back up again. I don't care what term you put on that, but
Right.
that is, I'm going to put something out there and it's not going to create the result that I wanted. So many people think confidence is, I'm going to put it out there and I am going to get the result that I want. That's the only way I can feel confident. This is going to create the result that I wanted.
Yeah. Which is inaccurate.
When I first hired you, like when I first hired a Facebook ads person, I'm like, I want to hire the person that's going to like figure out the first time. This is the magical, mystical Facebook algorithm that's going to get me exactly the results that I wanted. And the realization that I might spend weeks, months, a year, and it's that belief that the results that I have aren't bad, they're not wrong, they're just the results that I have.
Right. Well, and not only that, but sometimes like when we first started, first of all, when we very first started, you had a completely different person you were targeting, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's
totally different person.
Program, totally different person. Yes.
So then when we started again, kind of shifted ideas, it was figuring out sometimes what was working with that audience, right? Like,
yeah,
this worked. They stayed on your video. I remember at one point you had like a 15-minute video and they were popping off at 9 minutes. So you redid that video to keep them to 9 minutes.
Yes. Yeah. Like that's the experiment. Okay. Here's my data that I have I have a 15-minute video and 80% of them are out by 9 minutes. All right. They're not even hearing my sales pitch. Got it. let's shorten up that video. Let me seed that sales pitch throughout, like really make it like a prominent thing so that by the time I have so go do this thing, it's part of it and it's in a shorter time period. And yeah, you're back to your point when we went from, business women wanting to lose weight versus confidence for life coaches, so I serve other life coaches. And, I do get messages like, well, what do you mean by coach? I'm like, I'm not like a sports coach. I've had some sports coaches reach out. I'm like, no, it's not quite my thing. But the idea of you have clients who are at point B or point A, and they want to get to point B, and you're going to give them mindset tools in order to do that. Trying to find Facebook audiences. That's not a defined Facebook profile.
That is absolutely not. But it's really fun finding the audience to fit that.
Right. So that was like, it became even more of an experiment when I went to not a specifically defined audience on Facebook and an abstract result. Like weight loss for a woman business owner has a lot more categories than confidence for a life coach. So it became even more understanding am I willing to do this every single week for a month, for 6 months? What if it takes a year before I really get the results that I want? What if it takes 2 years to get the results that I want? I think the misconception also is that we have to have the perfect results before we can have any success or clients or.
Well, and that's exactly it, right? I've been working with another life coach on their ads lately, and we were talking about the lead magnet, and it's one of the conversations that you and I have had a lot, right?
Yes.
Your lead magnet coming in the door. Is that really what your ideal client needs in order to purchase from you?
Yes.
And sometimes that's a process, right? Sometimes that's figuring things out, like trying something for a little bit that didn't really work. I'm not getting the clients, I'm not getting the conversions, or they're not even getting on a call with me. Like it's just not connecting with them.
Yeah. And what so many of my clients, and when please understand, I know I've already said this once, I'm going to reiterate it again. When I say my clients, I also mean me at one point, and sometimes still when I forget who I am and what I do, would be like, I put a Facebook ad out there and I'm not signing clients from that ad. It's not working. Well, no, there's multiple steps in there.
Yeah.
And which piece isn't working? Like instead of this umbrella, my business isn't working. It's like, well, you can think that, but when you think none of this is working, how do you feel? I mean, you feel like crap, and then you don't solve any problems. You don't run another experiment. You don't evaluate. You don't go out and meet people. You probably are cleaning out a Dropbox folder or washing dishes or watching
or
Bridgerton
doing
on
what
Netflix.
I actually have done this to my mastermind group before. I just text him. I'm like, I'm blowing it up and walking away. Just those days, right, where everything seems to be falling apart, and you're like, I'm done.
Like it's the thought difference between it's not working and there's something in here that's not converting, and I wonder what it is, and let's go find it out because I can figure that out. So it's identifying the piece that and that's like, it's like have you ever seen those toys that are cog wheels?
Mhm.
And you've
Yeah.
got this cog and this cog, and then you put them all together, and there's rubber bands, and some of the rubber bands are twisted. And
Yeah.
the idea is that you're going to spin over here and you're going to get the result you want over here. There's actually a meme somewhere where there's like a monkey in a fez hat spinning the thing. And I'm like, that whole cog sequence is your business, and you're the monkey. You're the one trying to figure out.
Love that.
Yeah, you're the one trying to figure out which way this rubber band needs to be twisted this way, and this cogwheel needs to be placed next to here. Eventually, you will get there. The confidence is not knowing that the first time you put it on there, it's going to work. The confidence is knowing that you're going to keep showing up for yourself because you believe that eventually you're going to spin that wheel and it's going to get you exactly the result that you wanted. And so the confidence is about, I believe that that's going to happen even when I try it 100 times and it doesn't work. I believe that I can handle the disappointment, the frustration, the emotions that come with doing all of that doesn't have to stop me anymore. That I'm not going to keep seeking answers from everybody outside of me as to how to fix it, but I'm actually going to really, I use this is not a exclusive to me, but I use a concept called future self of, okay, Amy, who's already figured this out, go have a conversation with her, because she really like thinks and acts very differently than me. She doesn't throw the same temper tantrums that I throw.
Yeah.
If I go into that part of my brain, and I there's a couple of tools I give my clients specifically how to ask the right questions. Like, what would she tell me? Like, what does she see that I don't see? Would she, do this or do that? And so that's really the work of confidence, that you're going to be able to keep doing that, that you're going to keep making a decision and implement it. And not because it has to be correct, but because you're willing to test it and you're willing to evaluate it. And that process is what builds confidence. It's not actually and it's really interesting. In my latest group, I have anywhere from a coach who's only worked with free clients and is wanting the confidence to start charging, all the way up to a coach who's making like over $500,000 a year, but she's still terrified of, like, she gets so much hate mail, she has so many negative comments on her Instagram, and she wavers, but so she struggles with all of that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and then everybody in between. I have all kinds of clients in between. And I think it's perfect because we think, oh, when I hit quote unquote success, I won't feel this way anymore.
Which is so untrue, right?
It's
Like,
not true. Yeah.
every day it's about getting up and keep moving forward. Every day it's learning what worked, what didn't work. And the bigger you get, it's like your member of your group, the bigger you get, the more haters you get. And the
Yeah.
more haters you get, that can definitely nick your confidence, right? You're
Right.
seeing all of that negative stuff coming at you. Yeah.
And it's funny because, somebody who's new or newer, and, most of my clients come to me and they have success getting people to pay them. It's just not consistent. It's just not regular. It's that kind of, those beginning stages, you're kind of like, feel like you're clogging through some mud, but you're
Yeah.
moving forward. And, but I love that example to be able to show them that there's not some, I also teach my clients how to measure their confidence, and noting to them, do you see how you're using what the client said to boost your confidence? And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But when you get a whole bunch of people and Facebook ads, let me tell you, my friends, you want to find out what the random world at large thinks about you?
Facebook ads are definitely the place to do it.
I can
They
tell
are
you.
not always fun.
Oh,
They are
I have had some
definitely,
people accuse me, condemn me, challenge me, tell me that I'm just out to steal people's money, and I don't know, like all the
Mhm.
things you're terrified that people are going to say to you. There will be at some point. I always joke, 9 times out of 10, what you're afraid people are saying, they're not even thinking about it, because they're not even thinking about you. Like, you're not even on their radar.
Right,
Most of it is
right.
in our own mind. Most of it is what the thoughts we have about ourselves. So let's go coach on that. But 10 times, there's always that one time out of 10, about 10% of the time. Oh no, the person actually says the thing that you're afraid people are saying. And it's two different kinds of coaching. One is
Yeah,
it's your internal dialogue, and the people aren't even, not only are they not thinking about that, they're not even thinking about you. They're worried about their own stuff. They're worried about their own issues, right? But yeah, there's still, and then there's different coaching to do when it is, no, this person said these words. Here's the screenshot. Now, what are we going to
yeah.
make that mean? How can we still feel confident when I recently had a conversation with some clients about, she's like, it really comes down to external validation. I just really desire that external validation. And I was like, but external validation it's not real. There's no such thing as external validation,
Mm.
because validation is only internal. The only person who can validate you is you. There's no external validation. It's just somebody's opinion about you.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, external validation isn't real, because the only kind of validation that exists in the world is what you think about yourself and you feeling validated. So, it's kind of an absurd joke, but it's kind of like, if someone were to come to me and tell me that they hate my hair, that my hair looks ridiculous, my hair looks stupid, well, I think it looks amazing. So they're just wrong. But if I was unsure about my hair, if I was questioning whether or not I should have gone gray, fully gray, when I was only in my mid 40s, because I just quit dyeing my hair and I'm like over 50% gray. If I was questioning that and someone said the same thing, then I might, oh, maybe they're right. Maybe they're not right. The validation never came from them and only comes from my own belief.
Right.
Yeah.
It's your thoughts, whatever they said, what thought did that trigger?
What thought did
One of my favorite things about your training is, reality. Is that thought real?
Yeah.
Like, is that a thought I have about myself? Okay, let's work on that thought.
Yes.
And if it's not, I don't care what they say,
Yes.
right?
And I want to offer you that literally every thing that passes through our head, it's all thoughts. Now, some of them we
Yes.
like, some of them we want to keep.
Yes.
Some of them do serve us. Some of us are good thoughts, but most of them are a lot of them. You get to decide. There's science on this about like how many thoughts a day humans have and what percentage of them are negative thoughts that create less comfortable feelings. And I won't get it, but bottom line is we have a whole dialogue going on in our head all day long. Every human does. It's all thought. You just get to decide which one you want to choose to believe or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to your business and specifically your marketing, those thoughts become really essential, right? Because when you, like you said, when you get onto Facebook ads and you get out there, or like your client who has negative people coming out, you have to be willing, when you're scaling, when you're growing, you have to be willing to open yourself and tap into those thoughts in your own head
Yep.
so that like, if every negative comment that you get is going to send you into a spiral, you're probably not ready to scale.
Probably not ready to scale. No.
It's probably a good time to call Amy.
Yeah. Well, and I
On
often, another thing, and again, we haven't talked necessarily about my quote unquote failed launch, but
Well, that's our next topic.
But
So
there's something that came up in that marketing where I, as I was like trying to figure out like, okay, this is not going the way I thought I planned. And here's this launch and I got to figure this out. And I spent a lot of time coaching myself and I spent a lot of time, like, okay, if I'm them, what's going on in their head? And I came up with the realization, I'm like, oh, success without confidence is like building your business on quicksand.
I love that.
You can build it, but it's on a really shaky, sinking foundation. And the bigger the business, the heavier it is. But when you build a business on confidence, you can grow it as much as you can. And it's a solid foundation. That the confidence is not a luxury only reserved for those who already have success or whatever. It's a requirement because eventually your business, like you can absolutely create a lot of success without that internal self-confidence I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you can.
You can. And all you have to do is look at celebrity and see how many people have done it.
Yes.
There's a reason
Absolutely.
True Hollywood Stories is a thing. We think, oh, they've created everything they ever wanted. How could they be spiraling? How could they be falling apart? It doesn't make any sense. Well, that's because that internal belief wasn't there.
Right.
Right. And the thought that success will make me not think these things about myself anymore. Success will make me feel happy all of the time. Success will make that voice in my head that tells me I don't really know what I'm doing and I'm not good enough. And then I'm going to be honest with you. At the end of the day, all coaching comes back. I just feel like it's a human existential thing that we all question our value and our worth and our enoughness. Like it's kind of in our DNA to question that, going back to anthropology and tribes and being kicked out of the tribe and what's our value to the, all of that kind of mentality. So that's not necessarily a problem that we think that way. Confidence is just being able to recognize that I think that way and I get to choose how I think. Nothing out there, because when we start putting Facebook ads out there, when we start marketing ourselves, we're going to hear parroted back to us some of the worst things that we already think about ourselves. So might as well work on them now.
So we have circled this launch a couple of times in our conversation. So let's dive into that. So for those of you that don't know, that are just getting started, a launch is really having a specific timeline where you're opening your doors for sale. And you had one that you opened your doors. I think the actual class started this past week.
Yes.
So you were doing a launch through December. Yep. So tell me about it. Tell me about like how it went and what you learned.
Okay. So I first switched to group a year ago, and I didn't really know, is there interest in this? I put out a mastermind interest list. I'm sure you probably know some of that,
Yep.
got people like, okay, no, there's a market for, like, I tested the market, right? Like you're supposed to, like, I think I want to sell something, but is anybody going to buy? I tested the market. Sure enough, 9 people bought my 6-month program. And then I launched it again in May. I launched it every other month. So May, I can't do the math. So May, July, September, November. So I did all of that, improving it each time, fine tuning the marketing each time, et cetera, et cetera. My goal for each of those was 10 spots. I sold 10 spots, 10 to 15 spots in each of those. So I'm
Yeah,
going into December's
huge.
launch.
This is good. This is a good year.
Damn good.
Yeah.
And so of course, I evaluate all that I do, and I did my evaluation. I can see I can see some of the decisions I made that weren't completely clean or whatever.
Right.
I decided to increase my price. I doubled my price, and I doubled my goal. Hindsight being 2020, maybe I should have just stuck to one of those two things. So I doubled my price, I doubled my goal, because I'm only going to do 4 launches this year. So instead of 6, one every other month, it'll be one every 3 months. I had all the emails pre-written out. I had a launch date. I did also change the parameters of the launch. I had a shorter window for getting applications in. There was no consultation call with me. I had done that the previous round too, but I made it really, really clear. I added, so there were some forward, customer facing and some business facing decisions I had made to try to fine tune it. So in other words, I ran an experiment, but I might have changed
Too many things at one time.
Variables at one time. I didn't think that at the time though. So this is why it's so important to do the evaluation afterwards. I changed too many variables. I changed the launch, and then I didn't get enough coaching on the price increase and really believing that it really was the best thing. I got coaching of like, should I do it? Yes or no, but I didn't do that deeper coaching of why is this the best thing for the client? Why is this, that kind of thing. And so I did also kind of, hindsight being 2020, I only know this because I've evaluated, I padded the program a little bit more to justify the price.
So now not only have you changed all of the pieces of your previous launches, you've also changed the program itself.
Yep.
So now you're changing all of the variables in one shot.
Funny thing, my coach coaches on this. She just created a launch course and we just coached on it yesterday. And she goes, here's everything you don't want to do. And by the end of the list, I was like on the floor, laugh, crying. I literally did every single thing that she said, don't do this. Like you want to change one thing, yes, you might be fine tuning some of the other things, but I changed a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
She's like, if you're going to double the price, don't completely change this. And if you're going to, double this, don't also double the price. And if you're going to do this, keep the launch the same and try it again, but just change one major thing. And I changed 5 major things.
And that's what we say about marketing as an art and a science, right? As the science part of it, just like you would go into a scientific experiment, you wouldn't be changing all of the pieces and expecting the same results.
Yeah, if you're mixing 5 elements together and you changed all 5 elements, it might blow up in your face. So let's talk about that. So originally the plan was, 20 clients at the new price by the week of Christmas, so that I could then relax over Christmas, and that week, that next week afterwards, I'd be in this really beautiful Zen place, and they start coming into they start coming into the program that first week of January, and I'm going to launch my first ever 2-day event. One of the items that I added to make myself feel better about my price increase. My first 2-day event, and I'd be in this wonderful, amazing Zen place to make it the best experience ever. By the time the doors, quote unquote, closed, I had 5 applications and 1 person. Hear me, people. I'd always gotten 15 to 20 applications, and I've always signed 10 to 15 people. By the time the doors closed, I had 5 applications, 2 of which came back to me and they're like, they withdrew their application, and they should have. It wasn't a good
fit.
I wouldn't have. Right. Yeah, it wasn't a good thing. And then the other 2 people saying, I'd love to be in, but I can't afford this new price you're offering. And then one person who like signed in full. And can I tell you, the mind drama around that one person that did join, I actually thought that was worse than if 0 people had joined, because she was going to know
that you failed.
Yes, I couldn't hide my failure if one person joined. Like I can hide my failure if nobody joins, and I can't hide my failure if one person joined. Oh my gosh, now I'm going to have to come clean. And you can even see like the language I had around this and the energy around it was awful, right? So did I throw a pity party? Did I wallow? Did I, I've also moved, I've graduated from my coach's, what she calls 200K mastermind. And next week, now is my first week in her $2 million group. So then the imposter syndrome came up.
Yeah.
I'm going to get kicked out. I'm the only member of these 12 women who have had a launch fail. By the way, I don't know that that's true. I have no idea if I'm one, but I was sure.
That's the thoughts, right? Those are the thoughts running through your head.
They're going to find out. They're going to question if I should be there. Now, this goes back to that 90% of the time, what we think other people thinking.
Not true.
They all thought I was amazing. And I even reached out to them. I believe a lot in peer coaching. So I actually went to those coaches that I thought would think that, and I asked them to coach me. And sure enough, none of them thought, they all thought I'm amazing. I'm the only one that's thinking those things. So I licked, for lack of better words, kind of licked my wounds a little bit, wallowed, pity partied. I got to the point of feeling kind of resigned about it. And I did get one more application of a woman who said, I can pay you after Christmas. I got to move some funds around. So by Christmas Day, I was like, I have 2 people.
Yeah.
I got 2.
Okay. And I remember the call we had like right after, right? Like, after the holidays, because here's the best thing about you. You didn't wallow for long.
No,
you licked your wounds and stood up and said, okay, what do we do now?
Yes. And I want to be clear. I wallowed and I threw a pity, and I'm like, I pity partied. It's unfair. Why is it so hard for me? It's easier for them. I don't belong. I don't want to, blah, 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 blah. And then I moved into this more neutral, resigned. It's okay that I only signed 2. That's okay. It's okay. Like it's better than wallowing. I want to be clear. Right. Like it felt better, but it still was if I could just define the emotion, it was resigned.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got 2. Let's regroup, and they'll come next time. So I got to that place. And then I was like, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. What's best for, and be really clear, what's best for, I have marketed this as a group program. What's best for the 2? Because now I had 2 people who were going to find out, right?
Yeah.
I really want them to experience that group that I promised. Okay, maybe it won't be the 20, but I want to see a minimum of 5 women in here, 5 coaches. Because I actually ended up with a man, so let's be. What's best for them? They're not going to get that peer coaching experience that I love so much. Just the 2 of them. Like they might think they won the lottery. They might want their money back. I really didn't know at that point.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, so if I'm no longer wallowing and I'm not resigned, I moved into this new place of being at peace with what was, but also committed to that original goal that I set out.
Yeah.
And the second thing that I did was realizing, because I kept trying to coach myself out of feeling disappointed too. I don't want to feel disappointed. Disappointment's not going to get me to keep going.
Not going to get you moving.
But I actually found out something new about me. I learned how to feel disappointed and be okay and not coach myself out of it. But be like, yeah, I am disappointed. I'm also still committed to doing this. It's like I teach a concept of like letting fear ride shotgun, but like allowing disappointment to be. But I described it like it became like a dance with disappointment.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was dipping me low, but then it was always there. And I just decided that feeling disappointed didn't have to be a problem, and it didn't have to mean that it was going to be that I had to get out of it as soon as possible, but I could feel disappointed and still, like, here's where I was. I can be disappointed and still be okay. And it's like, what if I decided I could feel disappointment and you still thrive and shine?
That's an awesome place to be, right?
And if my launch hadn't failed, I never would have found that place.
Yeah.
Ultimately, for me personally, my own personal growth, that was what I really needed this experiment to teach me.
Yeah.
Not just be okay that I feel disappointed and I'll coach myself out of it so I can feel better again, but actually be okay feeling disappointed that I put all of this into a launch. I really thought it was going to be amazing. Only 2 people signed up. I am disappointed in this. I'm also can still thrive and shine in this too. Don't have to make the disappointment go away to be okay. I'd never experienced that before or been willing to go there.
That's
So
awesome.
so I decide the 2 days before Christmas, guys, I'm doing a free training. I didn't know what I was even going to teach when I announced it. I'm doing a free training. Like I'm sending you like, Jennifer, get an ad up. We're doing a free training. I'm like, I'm wrapping presents. I'm wrapping presents for 2 hours, and then I'm creating a Canva graphic and writing sales copy for 2 hours, and I'm sending it over to you. I'm like, let's get this out there. And I think that was the other thing is I learned how to problem solve and run this experiment the week of a holiday and still be available to my family too. That peace plus commitment, that was really huge. How to be okay and not be a crazy person with my family and still stay committed to my goal.
Yeah. I also wonder if you learned that there are other people to support you, that like maybe part of your launch was trying to do all of the things without any outside communication with your marketing team.
Yeah, I mean, because everybody else was like, I'm on vacation. Like my assistant was off that week. She was unavailable when she came back, like that Sunday, and she got back, like because she like lives in the mountain. She had gone into the mountain, like she literally had no idea what was happening. And she went on vacation thinking we've got 1, maybe 2 people, and Amy's going to figure this out. And she came back to there's an entire training, there's Facebook ads, there's whatever, and she's like, I feel really bad that you created all of this. I'm like, it's okay that I did though. I was able to because of that peace plus commitment, I was able to like, I'm doing this, but I'm also not going to be a crazy person for my family the week of Christmas. I did not grow my business to this place. And you and I have talked about this extensively.
Absolutely.
That belief that in order to like the more money means more stress and
more work. Yeah.
More work
Less family time, all of those untrue thoughts that we had at the beginning. As each stage we got to 6 figures, now you're working towards 7, and that was a conversation we've had several times.
Extensively. Yeah. I still remember when I made you cry. Don't worry, I always remember that.
You're not the only person that made me cry, but I believe you might have been the first when it came to my business.
Yeah, because I was like, why do you not want to get big? And because this idea that we have to sacrifice something. So that was there was another underlying lesson. I was actually really able to see how to be fully present for my family. Yeah, I did work hours I wasn't planning on working. But it didn't end up being that big of a deal. It was just like, well, they're going to go do this. Believe it or not, our family does not want to spend 12 hours a day. I have a 12 and a 14-year-old. They don't actually
especially teenagers.
They actually don't want to spend 12 straight hours with me. So it was like, here's some mom and kids that we did baking, we watched movies, and then they would go do their thing for an hour or 2. And then I would go create that Canva graphic, and I would go write that sales copy, and I would go send it like, can somebody get this ad up for me? Nice. Sorry, Jennifer. I hope your team's okay to get this done. And then over the weekend, I was like, okay. So I set it out. I had 300 people register.
Oh, isn't that amazing?
300 people registered for my free 3-day training that I literally created out of thin air the week of Christmas.
Yeah.
After only having 2 people sign up for my 20 spot program.
Which gives you the power of Facebook ads, right? Because for those that don't know, a launch, usually when you launch, you're launching into your email list, because those are the people you've already warmed them up. That's generally the way a launch goes.
Yes.
Sometimes you launch to cold traffic with Facebook ads, but you hadn't. You were just launching into your email list. And so we were able to pull in with less than 5 days, right? Like it was less than Christmas.
People, do you understand? It was like less than 5 days over Christmas.
Yes, it was less than 5 days. We pulled in 300 people that you'd never talked to before.
Well, some of them I had talked to. It was a good mix. I haven't actually broken down the audience. It was a good mix of people who I've worked with before, but there were people who I had never heard of before who came in also. And so over that weekend on Sunday, I took about 2 hours. And here's a little something that I shared with my clients and I will share with your clients, which was, okay, what do my people ask me the most? What are their biggest struggles? What do I coach people on the most?
Yes.
And then I followed up with a second question. How can I teach that simpler and easier than I ever have before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so on Saturday, and here's the thing, it was so unplanned. I didn't plan to have a private Facebook group. Oh, I did a pop-up Facebook group. I invited all of those people who were joining this brand new list I just created. And I threw them, hey, I got a pop-up Facebook group. So that we could like talk about these things. And so on Saturday, I created the Facebook group. I figured out what do I coach the most on and how can I make that even simpler than I ever have before. So thanks to failing, I created 2 completely new concepts I've never created before. I now have like, oh my gosh, this is how all of my marketing should be going forward.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That never would have happened.
That's the conversation that we've had over the last year, right? Yeah. What do we need? What does your ideal client need to come into your business? So you're right. Yeah. If it hadn't been for the failure, you wouldn't have had that.
I wouldn't have had, and here's the thing, I've asked myself those questions before, but the, what's the word I'm looking for? The push to think deeper and harder than I ever have before was never there because all my launches had sold out and I even oversold them.
Right.
Because it didn't happen, I was like, no, like for real. What really is the answer to this? Like, how, like for real, not just like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to think about this? But like, no, I want to teach this better than I've ever taught it before. And I want to make it as simple as I ever have before. I created the training in, 2 hours on Saturday. And then by Saturday night, I was like, I should write a workbook. They need worksheets. So Sunday, I spent 2 hours Sunday night writing a 20-page workbook. I emailed it out Monday morning. We try, and then, I mean, when I tell you that it was like boop, 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 like this.
But isn't that the truth though, that when you're in flow, when you're doing what you should be doing, that's what happens. Things just come to you and you're just, I got it.
Yeah. I just kept asking myself, how can I make this the best training they've ever had? How can I, what are the 3 things they need to learn the most? And how can I make it as simple as possible? I just kept asking myself more and more and more. And the thing is that it came from that belief that there were 20 people. It actually came from the belief that there were 50 people that wanted the program right now. And I was just looking for 20 people to sign up. Like I always believe greater than my actual goal.
Right.
So that I'm like, they totally want it. And then here's my goal. And
obviously there were 300 people.
Right. Right. I'll be honest with you. Like, I want to really know, like, becoming a life coach and being like so in zen with your thoughts and feelings does not mean you aren't still a human being. Because a couple of times I was like, 300? Come on, people, what is wrong with you? Right? Like, there were a couple times where over that weekend that I saw myself go into kind of like an indignant energy of like, what the hell's wrong with you? Why aren't you just signing up already? There's 300 of you who are telling me you want this. And then I'd be like, oh, well, that's not a good energy to write an email from. So maybe I should clean that up a little bit. But I did was kind of like, listen, I know you want this. Here's the easiest way I can teach it to you, to be there. And so then I coached and I trained for 3 days straight. I threw in a couple of open coaching sessions because I realized I hadn't done like a big sales, and the applications started coming in. Mm-hmm. And then here was another thing that I want to offer that is marketing related. Can we talk about price for a second?
Absolutely. Price is always fun. It's always a fun topic.
Here's the thing. Y'all think it's your price. And that if you're selling
never your price.
It's never, ever your price. Because here's what I did. I would say a third of my applications were people who said, I was willing to pay you at the lower price, but I don't know if I could pay you at this higher price. Maybe I'll wait till April. Since your program is paid in full, maybe I will wait till April. I removed the obstacle, Jennifer, and guess what happened? Yep. So here's what I did. I said, okay, y'all are telling me it's the price. I know it's not the price. I've been doing this long enough to know. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go ahead and test this theory. And I'm so glad I did, because then I immediately turned it right back around and see, I told y'all it wasn't the price. But here's what happened. I said, listen, all right, how about we'll pay half upfront, which was the old price that I charged for an entire year. And then you have 3 months to pay me the balance, which would be like paying me in full in April, right?
Right.
So pay the half up that you thought you were going to have to pay anyway. And then I'm giving you 3 months to pay me the balance.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, okay, I've got poor Heather and Jackie have signed up, paid in full $10,000. They're probably like, so I was like, okay, and to make it worthwhile for people who do pay in full, I'll include 6 half-hour bonus sessions with me. I'll throw like it's 3 hours of my time, right? One person took me up on it.
Yep. And it's never the price.
I ended up with 9 people. I made $85,000 on this launch because I still had that $5,000 that one person took the payment option.
That
everybody else figured out a way to come up with the full amount and pay me in full.
Because they wanted the extras, right? Like that's the thing.
Even that, if you think about it, like even that, do you realize how much money they paid for 3 hours of my time?
Right. I know, which is amazing in and of itself.
It's amazing, but be clear, it's because of the perceived value that they got from it.
And here's the reality. When it comes to pricing and when it comes to addressing that, the most flexible person is going to win every time. So you being flexible about how they were going to pay you gave you the opportunity to, one, address that this really wasn't a money issue.
No, I was immediately able to coach them on that. Like, see, guys, I offered this to you and only one of you took me up on it. Everybody else figured out how to pay in full. Now, so a lot of those, everybody else, the training really did like, oh yeah, I want in. I think I only got one person completely in, paid in full, just because of the bonus sessions. Like it
really gives you that opportunity now to look for your second launch, because now you're doing 4 times a year and going, okay, this worked really well. Like having this 3-day, it's kind of a Jeff Walker type of product launch formula, 3-day training. Yeah, really works well, especially when you're looking at those high ticket luxury items, which is what your program is. Yeah, I think it's vital for coaches, but it's still a luxury item.
Well, I'm gonna challenge you that it's a premium item, but I'm not gonna call it a luxury.
Yeah.
Okay, because, and this is part of my marketing too. I really want, particularly after seeing like that one client that came in who's got a $600,000 business, and like every time a negative comment comes in, she totally like shuts down and etc. And it's not necessarily a luxury, but the program
it's necessity.
Yeah, like confidence is not, the program is a premium price program. And you can also just listen to my podcast and get a lot of value. And here's the thing, here's the other thing I always love to remind people who are doing a lot of marketing. You and I both know this. I have the super fans that will never pay me, and I love them.
Yeah, exactly. And I am happy. It's one of the reasons that I launched this podcast this year, is because there are people out there that are never going to be able or willing to pay me for marketing services. And that's okay. I still can help them in a different way.
Yeah, they can listen to my podcast, they can join these free trainings, they get my emails every week, et cetera, et cetera. But for the people who are, are ready to do that work, here's a a premium level coaching program that's going to teach you everything that you need. So ultimately, 9 people are in.
That's awesome.
And 8 of them paid in full. Only one person. And I want to offer you, the person that took me up on the payment option is not one of the original people who told me that that was their obstacle. None of the people who said that was an obstacle, when I removed the obstacle, bought in. But that was also important for me. Oh, then I have more work to do in really conveying the value of this.
Right.
Like I'm not like putting that, I want to be really clear. I'm not like, so those silly, ridiculous. No. Okay.
They didn't understand. It didn't connect with them.
Because if value of what
if price is an option is a problem, it's only in the absence of value.
Yes.
So in some way, what you or I or any other coach out there, if you're having that struggle with people saying it's too expensive, whatever, and even if you give them payment options, they still can't afford it, whatever those are, you're right. You get that opportunity to look at, okay, what value am I not showing them? I need to be able to show them more value.
And between now and my next launch, that's going to be the question that I'm going to challenge myself to answer of like, okay, how can I get better? Like kind of the same, like, how can I get better? How can I explain the value simpler, easier, and clearer than I ever have before? That's the part of the experimentation part of like, I get to only improve that message from here. I didn't perfect that message this go around. I didn't perfect anything this go around, but I came up with more concepts. I got clearer in my marketing. I got clearer in what their obstacles are. And I will continue to ask myself, how can I explain this even simpler and even better than before? And I want to offer everybody that like, I created my own podcast around this topic and I'm calling it Lessons from My Failed Launch. This is the best damn launch I've ever had. I'm so glad that it didn't go at all as planned, because look at all of the growth. And and here's the other thing I want to offer everybody that's out there too. I'm a better coach for my current clients today because I experienced that.
Yes.
Because I had to get deeper and sharper in how to explain what it is that people are struggling with and how I help them. I had to spend that time really solving those problems in my own head. So my current clients are reaping the benefits of me doing this work now too. I'm a more confident coach than I was a month ago. I'm a better coach than I was a month ago to my current clients. And like, I cannot wait for, the people that are going to come in, because I'm that much better. I mean, in some ways, somebody asked me, he was like, well, wouldn't it have been nice to have been able to learn those lessons without that? And I'm like, but that's not how that works.
That's not how it ever works, right?
No,
you have to try to learn in order to learn the lessons,
That's like
read about it all the time.
Like me telling you do this, this, and this. But until you do the work and you see your work, I knew that on an intellectual level, but until I was in it, there's no way I could have experienced that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There's so much
that confidence. Yeah.
There's so much that comes in with your marketing that if you don't try, you don't have the opportunity to fail or succeed.
Yeah.
Right. And when you fail, you have so many more learnings, even than when you succeed. Because usually when people succeed, they're like, yes, high five, fist bump, we're good. Everything I did was perfect. And that's not reality either, right?
That's not reality. And that's not reality either. And it doesn't show you where your work is. It doesn't show you what work you have to do. And so that's ultimately like, why is this the best thing that could have happened? Because I was willing, because I was willing to learn how to be in peace and commitment. I was willing to learn how to wallow but not stay there. I was willing to learn how to get out of resignation. I was willing to learn, what do my people really need to hear and how can I make it all? None of that would have happened. Thank goodness this launch went this way. Now, if I could go back in time and tell Amy the first week of December, Amy, I'm like, listen, it's going to be the
best thing ever. I promise.
I promise you, that's going to be the best thing ever. Right. But even that would have really denied myself the growth that I had. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, all of this is just an experiment, and the confidence doesn't come from knowing that it's going to work the first time. The confidence is going to come knowing that you're going to keep experimenting until you until you prove the hypothesis that you have, that people want what I have to offer and they're going to buy it from me. Yeah.
That is awesome. Amy, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I love this, and I could talk to you forever, but
I know.
At some point,
I just looked at the clock. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. You and I can talk marketing and confidence and coaching for literally hours. I love being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And I look forward to seeing you on the next Marketing Matchmaker. Thank you for listening to the Marketing Matchmaker podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love to hear your feedback. Please head over to iTunes and leave a review so we can hear from you. And if you are a coach, consultant, or online course creator who are looking to grow your business, increase your income, and scale your impact, connect with me at yourmarketingmatchmaker.com. I look forward to hearing from you.